So there's this report in the New York Times that claims that the president berated Jeff Sessions in front of other top officials after the appointment of the special counsel in the Russian probe. And the report says that Donald Trump immediately blamed Sessions and called him an idiot. The report alleges Trump also told Sessions that choosing him to be Attorney General was one of the worst decisions he'd ever made, and that he should resign immediately. An emotional Sessions offered his resignation letter, which the president did not accept. He called it the most humiliating experience in his decades of public life. I mean, I would just kind of like, at that point, I would actually say two words, which I can't say on television, and walk out. Let's bring in the reporter who broke that story, the New York Times, Michael Schmidt. Michael, I guess Jeff Sessions didn't say the two words, did not give the two-word instructions to the president and walk out. Instead, he sort of stuck it out. Tell me about it. Why did he stay? Who talked him into staying? And are things patched up now between the two?
Well, I think that the White House officials at the time realized the severity of this, the problem with the situation, that if the Attorney General resigned. You have to remember, at that point, he had fired Comey, he had fired the acting Attorney General, and he had fired his national security advisor. So the idea of dismissing the Attorney General as Mueller was moving in was seen by folks like Pence as a very, very bad thing, and they were able to bring the president back from that. Sessions does send a letter over to the White House the following day offering his resignation. The president holds on to it and eventually returns it to him by writing a handwritten note on it back to him. So
have they made up at this point, Michael?
You know, look, the narrative from the White House is that they have made up and that everything is fine, but I find that sort of hard to believe. This is a relationship that was incredibly important to Trump early on. Sessions was one of the first national politicians to really embrace his campaign. And basically, Trump, as soon as Sessions recused himself in March, basically lost it with Sessions and was furious about this. As we've seen time and time again with Donald Trump, he's obsessed with who is controlling this investigation, whether it was Comey, whether it was Sessions, whether it was Mueller, and this preoccupation that we tried to understand. The events of May of 2017 are still ones where I don't think we have the whole picture, and we have to continue to push to understand that.
And for Donald Trump, if you're Donald Trump, you look at all of the problems that have happened in the investigation, all of the subpoenas, all of the bad headlines, all of the horrible cable news stories. In his mind, I guess, it all goes back to Jeff Sessions, he would say, not being tough enough to stare everybody down and say, I'm not going to recuse myself. And that's just something that Donald Trump doesn't understand, right? You work for me, and since you work for me, you do what I need you to do, and you protect me.
What he said to Sessions was that Sessions had been disloyal to him. So it comes back to the loyalty to Trump being more important than having to recuse because of other issues or allowing the institutions like the FBI and the Department of Justice to move forward and follow the facts. The president was vicious with Sessions. Sessions is a guy who said that he had never experienced anything like this before. He hadn't been spoken to in such a way. He came out, he looked ashen, he looked disturbed. And it was very unnerving from him, and it's still, you know, it was an incredibly critical period of time as the Department of Justice is putting out a press release announcing this. Sessions is writing his resignation.
Joe, I would never call Jeff Sessions an idiot, but anybody that thinks that Donald Trump's loyalties to anybody but Donald Trump is an idiot.
Well, the thing is, though, Jeff Sessions has been in government service for a very long time. He's been a judge for a very long time. He understands, you know, in government, I always said to people that said, well, why did you do this? Or why did so-and-so do? You know, in government, all the world's a stage. And everybody's a player that has their own part. And that's something that Jeff Sessions would understand because he's been in the judicial branch, he's been in the legislative branch. That's something that most of the people who have government service would understand, but that is not something that Donald Trump would understand. A guy that's been in a family-owned corporation his entire life, and there have been no checks and balances. I suspect it's something he understands much better now in the fall of 2017 than he did in the spring of 2017. Let's bring it. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.